Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing the entire world has changed overnight without tanks rolling, without missiles launching, without any army stepping onto a battlefield. Today, we're uncovering the weapon, so don't blink, don't skip, stay right here, because what you're about to hear might be the most important military truth of 2025. And once you know it, you will never look at modern warfare the same way again. You see, every generation witnesses the rise of a new weapon that completely changes the rules of war. The machine gun did it, the nuclear bomb did it, stealth aircraft did it, drones did it, but 2025 has introduced something far more radical, far more unpredictable, and far more powerful than anything we've seen before. And the scariest part, it doesn't look like a weapon at first. It's small, it's silent, it doesn't rely on brute force. It relies on intelligence, artificial intelligence that evolves every second it's alive. And that is exactly why number one was ready for it. This is the weapon that could disable an entire army without firing a single traditional shot. The weapon that can hunt targets on its own, communicate with itself, adapt to its environment, and complete missions without direct human control. For the first time in history, the battlefield does not belong to soldiers, tanks, or aircraft. It belongs to machines that think. Before we dive deeper, imagine the scenario for a moment. A military base protected by radar, anti-air defense, and hundreds of trained personnel suddenly shuts down. Not because it was bombed, not because it was attacked by jets, but because a cloud of microscopic machines silently entered the perimeter, disrupted every signal, jammed every sensor, chewed every line of communication, and blinded every weapon system. No more explosions, no more warning, just darkness. That moment right there is what militaries around the world fear most in 2025. The weapon responsible for this is not a missile, not a stealth jet, not a tank. It's the next stage of autonomous swarm technology. And yes, it already exists. For years, countries experimented with drones, but drones needed human operators, needed signals, needed guidance. This new generation does not. It thinks, it learns, it adapts, and that alone makes it more dangerous than any weapon humanity has ever built. What makes this even more shocking is the speed at which it can evolve. Traditional weapons take years to upgrade. This weapon upgrades itself in seconds. If it faces a problem it has never encountered before, it doesn't panic, it doesn't freeze. It studies the environment, analyzes the threat, rewrites its strategy, and it continues. By the time a human soldier realizes what's happening, the swarm already knows the next 10 moves. This weapon doesn't operate alone. It operates as one unit even though it's made up of hundreds or thousands of smaller machines. Imagine thousands of intelligent drones, each the size of your palm, acting like a single brain, a single organism. If one fails, the rest immediately adapt. If 10 fail, the swarm restructures. If half get destroyed, the other half evolve a new strategy in real time. And here is the part that makes this more terrifying than any nuclear weapon. Nations no longer need billions to build power. They only need software, chips, and mass production. Even countries with limited budgets can create an unstoppable swarm army capable of disabling militaries far bigger and more advanced than theirs. This is the technology number one was ready for in 2025. But let's take this a step further. What happens when this weapon enters an urban environment? If you think tanks and jets dominate cities, you're wrong. This weapon doesn't need open terrain. It thrives in tiny spaces, alleys, buildings, tunnels, rooftops. It can infiltrate rooms no more soldier can reach. It can track movement silently. It can identify heat signatures and follow targets with perfect precision. It can decide who is a threat and who isn't. And it can do all of this without risking a single human life on the side of whoever deploys it. Now imagine a battlefield where soldiers don't even see the enemy. Instead, they see sudden disruptions in their maps, radios dying, cameras shutting off, targeting systems failing, drones falling out of the sky. That invisible attack is how this weapon fights. It doesn't battle you head-on. It dismantles your entire strategy, piece by piece, until your army is blind, deaf, confused, and unable to coordinate. This is why generals, analysts, and the intelligence agencies call it the most powerful weapon of 2025. Even more shocking, these swarms aren't just designed to attack. They can protect armies too. They form defensive shields over personnel, intercept incoming threats, track enemy drones, identify traps, and detect hidden explosives. They can scout kilometers ahead of troops and map enemy positions with insane accuracy. They gather intel that usually takes weeks or then minutes. It doesn't matter whether you're the U.S., Russia, China, Thailand, India, or any other nation. Everyone is racing to build their version of this weapon. And the country that perfects it first gains something more valuable than firepower: dominance. Absolute dominance. Because wars of the future aren't won by the biggest force, they're won by the smartest one. Now imagine a world where the first strike in any conflict is completely silent. No more missile launch, no more aircraft formation, no more tank division advancing, just a digital command sent to an autonomous network, activating a swarm that moves like a shadow across the battlefield. The enemy has no more warning. They don't know what's happening. They don't even know where the attack is coming from. And by the time they realize what's going on, their systems are already collapsing. This is what makes this weapon more powerful than nuclear bombs. Nuclear weapons destroy cities. Swarms disable nations. They don't leave destruction, they leave helplessness. And what about countermeasures? Surely militaries have defenses against this, right? Well, yes, and no more. Traditional air defense systems are almost useless. Anti-air guns are too slow. Missiles can't lock onto targets this small. Jamming signals don't work because the swarm uses decentralized intelligence. You can't shoot off its head because it has no more head. You can't destroy its brain because the brain is distributed across thousands of units. Even electromagnetic pulse weapons theoretically effective can only work in limited scenarios. If the swarm is hardened or shielded, if any MP loses effectiveness. This is a weapon designed not just to win wars, but to make traditional warfare obsolete. Now, let me give you one of the most shocking facts of all. The biggest military powers, especially the US and China, haven't just built these swarms. They've built versions that work underwater, in the air, on land, and even in space. Multi-environment swarms that synchronize with each other. Imagine tiny machines that can land on the hull of a submarine, or attach themselves to enemy aircraft, or float silently on ocean waves while taking ship movements. Now combine that with artificial intelligence capable of analyzing millions of data points per second. This is the reason Nomor 1 was ready for ke-2025. Because they assumed war was still about missiles, tanks, and jets. But it's not. It's about intelligence, data, autonomy, speed, adaptation. The first enemy to combine these elements into a single weapon becomes unstoppable. But here is the twist: the people don't talk about this technology doesn't just make wars easier to win. It makes wars harder to start. Because once a nation demonstrates swarm dominance, Number 1 wants to fight them. Why would anyone go to war with a country that can disable them before the battle even begins? The psychological effect alone is a weapon. And this brings US to the biggest shift in global power we've seen in decades. Smaller countries can now rise faster. Mid-sized militaries can challenge superpowers. Nations that once relied on buying tanks and jets now focus on developing micro-tech, i.e. chips, and autonomous systems. The battlefield is no longer about who has the most soldiers. It's about who has the smartest machines. If you're still watching, that means you understand how serious, how revolutionary, and how dangerous this weapon truly is. And you also understand why militaries around the world are scrambling to catch up, because whoever controls this technology controls the future. And now we reach the final words you came for. The words that summarize everything. The most powerful weapon in 2025. Number 1 was ready for this. If you want another full script, just tell me the title, I'll make it instantly.